Alright, today I'll be reviewing Montu, and this is a ride I've given way too much hate to, mainly because of the operations, and that just goes across the entire park. I think my opinion of all the coasters here was lowered because of the operations, and I definitely wasn't considering putting this over Alpengeist with that personal bias in place, but I'm trying my best to look at this ride without any bias, just looking at the ride experience itself, and come to think of it, I do think it is the best B&M invert, and I'll tell you why in this review. So to start off, yes, the operations are abysmal. They're Six Flags America 2016 level. It's just some of the worst you'll ever see. But that's really where the cons of this ride really stop, because the theming on this is handily the best of any B&M period. Like, I love this Egyptian theming. The arch you walk under to get to the ride's incredible. You've got all these Egyptian hieroglyphics you're walking past in the queue line. The station isn't anything too great, but yeah, it's still such a phenomenal ride in terms of theming, especially with the trenches. Like, you really don't get that on any of the other inverts, which is a real shame because I know the ones in Europe definitely have a lot better theming than the ones over here, but this and Alpengeist in particular have really good theming for US. So you're going to start by getting in these trains. They're normal B&M OTS restraints, and you're going to pull out of the station and start off with your 151-foot lift hill. This is one of the taller inverts, but, I really don't care about height. So it's all about the drop. This drop is probably the second best on an invert, only behind Raptors. You don't really get airtime, but the whip is nuts on it. So great way to start the ride. Then you're going to pull out and go through a vertical loop. This piles on the positives really well. I'd say slightly better than Raptors. But yeah, after this, you're going to go through an Immelman. And this is just another really intense moment. This whole first part of the ride kind of feels a lot like Alpengeist, and it's just, yeah, it's really intense. It's top tier for an invert. Then you're going to hit the 0G roll. This is about as crunchy as the one on Raptor, so yeah, it's extremely good. It's about as good as a 0G roll can get without being like a Mosasaurus roll. After this, you're going to fly through a Batwing, and this is the one part of the ride that I was really disappointed in. I'll say I'll take Alpengeist's Cobra Roll any day over this Batwing. I didn't think it packed as many positives as some people said it would, but I was kind of expecting that because I thought Afterburn's Batwing was pretty underwhelming. But yeah, this is the one element that really left a sour taste in my mouth, but everything else is pretty much perfect. So after this, you're going to pop up into the mid-course. You're going to have a pretty good head of speed going into this, so it keeps its pacing really well. You're going to get a little airtime pop coming out of this, actually. I'll tell you, I only rode this once in the back row, so that could also be why I was a bit biased against it, because I only got one ride, but yeah, you get a good pop of airtime coming out of the back, and it does something pretty unconventional. I mentioned this when I was talking about Hulk, but it goes through a vertical loop, which is very bizarre for a B&M in the middle of the ride. There's not many that do that at all. There's definitely more than just Hulk, Decepticoaster, and Dragon Con, like I said in that review, so I don't know what I was thinking there, but anyways, after that, you're going to pull up into this turnaround. It's pretty intense. You definitely pile on some positives there. It's a lot more intense than Alpengeist's Helix, which is one of the things this ride does better than Alpengeist. That's kind of the biggest ride I'd compare it to. After that, you're going to drop off, kind of twist and turn a bit through the trenches. This section is pretty dull, but it's okay because the finale's great. You've got probably the most violent corkscrew on any invert, I'd say, and that's saying a lot given how good Raptors are. So yeah, you're going to really power through this thing, get probably the best laterals on the ride. I'd say this is the best element on the ride, especially just popping in and out of those trenches, and that's another thing with this ride. The uses of the trenches really makes it, and I kind of took that for granted, when I first rode it, but especially after riding Great Bear. You know, that ride has a great setting, whatever, but it's nothing compared to how Montu utilizes its setting. So after that corkscrew, you're going to do another low turn, pile on some more positives, and hit the brakes. There's definitely a good amount of leg numbing on this. It's not quite as intense as like the highest moments of Alpengeist, but it's a lot more evenly spread out than Alpengeist. You're gonna really feel a lot of good positives throughout the entire ride, whereas Alpengeist is real first half heavy. So yeah, is this my favorite invert? It is. I was really considering this or Alpengeist. It's so close, but for Montu's final score, I'm going to give it a 911 out of 1,000, which is slightly higher than Alpengeist's. I know. I'm a huge Alpengeist fan, but the more I thought about it, just Montu, it just does Alpengeist a bit better. The Cobra roll is better than anything on Montu. However, just the rest of the ride is so perfect. So this really is the best you can get for an invert in terms of the US. There's definitely some overseas that could beat it. I'm not saying Pyrenees doesn't look like the best invert, but yeah, overall, just my opinion's really changed on Montu. So let me know what you guys think of this ride down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.